Hi everyone, we are from Group 1. Today our topic is document analysis of challenges in learning programming and strategy to assess the learning. First, what is programming? Programming is the act of or process of planning or writing a program. It is a language that can be very closely tied to the architecture of the computer and is an assembly language is a symbolic form of machine language. For example, JavaScript, Python, and C++. Our problem statement is students struggling with the first step of learning to the program. Second, the factors affect students in learning programming. And third, action needed to take in improving learning process. Then, research question. What is the challenge in learning programming? And then, what is the strategy to assess the learning in programming? Our objective is to explore the challenge in learning programming and also to find the strategy to cope up with the learning. Our sampling comes from printed and electronic material such as computer bases or internet transmission. And our method of data collection is from online book, blog, comment, or sample research paper.
Hello, Miss. My name is Abang Amir. I will present about literature review. There are two parts in literature review. One, discussion of issues related to relevant theory, and two, discussion of previous study. One, discussion of issues related to relevant theory. Programming has been a difficult subject to master, even at early stage of education. It's a global problem and continues to worsen at the local level. One of the rationale is from the student lack of problem-solving abilities. 2. Discussion of previous study. 1. Previous studies shown that students face difficulty to understand basic concept of programming structure and design program to solve certain tasks. 2. Results show that the level of student understanding of the topic is moderate and most difficult topic for them is understanding abstract concept involving the role of variable position in computer memory, such as multi-dimensional array, looping statement, and function.
Hi, I'm Nia Munyadi. Matric number is 67938. Today I would like to explain about the method of data collection we use in this research. Since my group focus on document analysis, first I would like to explain what is document analysis. Document analysis is a quantitative research to interpret the documents. The documents can be printed or electronic material. What are we going to analyze in this research? My group has focused on the challenges in learning programming and strategies to assess that learning. How are we going to analyze the challenges in learning programming? By two different techniques. First one is interview, the second one is content analysis. Interview is referring to the question and answering technique. We have found two different blogs posting questions about challenges in learning programming, and a few respondents have answered the question. This is known as the interview technique. Content analysis is referred to mean documents and the analysis the content. How we do it? We use two conference papers, one research paper and one article to do the document analysis. First, we study the document and analyze the content. Then we identify the challenges and strategies in the content. After that, we list all the challenges and strategies into categories. And lastly, we find the pattern recognition within the content.
My name is Danush and I'll be presenting on the findings of this research. Based on thorough analysis of the materials used for the study, the findings can be classified into three segments, which are difficulties, challenges, and the strategies. The first difficulty is lacking to visualize the program state during code execution. The programmers are unable to visualize minor errors and components that cause changes in their outputs. Next, the understanding of the program syntax. This is depicted as having obstructions in understanding the programming language used, such as keywords, characters, and syllables. Moving on to designing programs. This is explained as the lack of ideas towards designing the programs in terms of functions used or output methods. Next, dividing problems into subproblems. This is a difficulty in breaking down chunks of problems encountered into subproblems for analyzing and error identification. Next, designing functions. The difficulty experienced is unable to work out the purpose and mechanisms of functions to apply in programs for desired output. Finally, finding bugs. The difficulty experienced is locating and improvising specific bugs among the codes written efficiently. Following that, I will explain the challenges faced by the programmers. The first challenge is lack of abilities. There are abilities associated with fluency of programming, such as code defining, bug fixing, and usage of functions. Next, the lack of knowledge transfer. This is regarding the low capability for knowledge transfer from learning sources to programmers due to code writing difficulties without constant reinforcement and motivation. Moving on to lack of skills in problem solving and analytic skills. The programmers are not skillful enough in aspects of problem solving and analytic to conduct a thorough review and produce solutions of errors occurred. Moving on to the image of a programmer. The image of a programmer provides a phobia among fresh programmers upon their future characteristics or professions, based on the stress and problems encountered daily by experienced programmers. Next, engaging in a new community. This is regarding building a personality to adapt and involve completely with a new community when getting started with a programming or acquiring a new programming language. Finally, finding the time to practice. This is depicted with making the most out of specific time periods allocated for programming alone, which requires full attention and provides mind-boggling sessions. Last but not least, the strategies. The first strategy is giving up and resuming the day after. Programmers should know that putting a full stop towards the program worked on and resuming almost a day after to ensure sufficient rest physically and mentally is very important as a strategy. Next, a disciplined behavior. This depicts as upholding a disciplined behavior towards the profession of programming for precision of codes. Moving on to acquiring a challenge-feeling mindset. This is depicted as training the mind to behave in such a way that it is fond of challenges encountered and ready to face challenges. Next, reinforcing motivation through surrounding activities. This can be done by constantly hunting for activities or entities that can be engaged immediately for motivation when hitting a dead end in programming. Finally, organization of codes. It is important to be as much organized as possible with code writing and layout of commands. Thank you.
Hello everyone, my name is Prananan Radhakrishnan, and today I'm going to discuss on my part, which is chapter 5 of our group project for research methodology. Okay, so basically I just give a brief introduction about what research we are working on. So we are actually doing about programming. So basically in our research, we basically discussed about what is programming in the first place, and also the benefits of programming, like how could you implement them in your life, how could you start your career with it, and things like that. All right, moving on. So I'm just going to give a brief research summary on our findings. So basically we got to know the types of programming, like the languages, different types of programming, how where do you use them, and things like that. And we also did research on the future prospects of programming, like how do you use them, what can you do out of them, how do you venture into things like machine learning, or AI, for example. And lastly, we also got to know the challenges faced by students when it comes to programming, like what are the problems they encounter, and also what are the possible ways to actually overcome those problems. So yeah. And for research implications, I believe that through this research, we could actually give everyone a clearer view about what is programming, and also magnify most of the problems faced by students in programming, which is really important because by doing this research, we actually get to narrow down the problems and actually give more solutions in order for them to uh, overcome these problems and make programming more easy to them. And also yeah, just like I said, we found out ways on how to resolve them to make programming a much more easier subject for students to learn. So recommendations, if you ask me, I would say in order to do this project, we had to watch a lot of YouTube videos, get a personal tutor who is like uh, good in programming, and also a lot of exercises and understanding when it comes to programming. So these are the recommendations in order to uh, these are recommendations from my side to actually make this research uh, make this research more easier for us to do when it comes to breaking the code of programming and making it more easier. So all in all, just to wrap it up, this is the conclusion that we've come up with. Basically, through the research we have conducted, now we have a clearer view of how programming works for most students who wish to learn it. And through this research, we will be able to understand what is programming, how could students learn the subject, what are the possible problems they might face, and how to overcome that. So basically, this is the whole idea of our research, or this is basically what we are working on, and what we are planning to contribute to people who wish to learn programming. And I believe that if this research turns out well, programming would be higher in demand than it is now. It's already high in demand, but I believe this would add up to it in the education field, of course. And I believe that people facing the problems would finally have a solution in order to overcome those problems, and get past more obstacles, and excel in this field of study. So that's it from me. Thank you so much, and have a great day. I hope you like this video.